Hello, everybody. Let me just get my life together here. How are we doing today? How are we feeling? How was your Sunday? I just had breakfast. I just finished having breakfast. So, feeling pretty good about that. Excited to be here with you guys. I'm going to give us just a few minutes to let people roll in as they will, and then we should be done and out of here by 12:45 or 45 minutes from now, wherever you are. And yeah, you'll have access to the replay once it's done as well. I will send that out to all of you. But yeah, we're just going to take a couple minutes here. We'll let people hang out. Feel free to say hi in the comments. Introduce yourself. Let me know where you're coming from. Let me know how you got here. How did you find me? I'm glad that you found me. I'm glad that we're here together. Just let me know. I'm going to take some sips of water. All right, y'all. Welcome. Welcome to Functional Finance. I'm excited to have you here. Alternative long title to this was How to Manage Money When Executive Dysfunction is Kicking Your Ass, and that was just way too long. So now it's a subtitle, but that's what we're going to be talking about here today. So I just want to welcome you all. I'm so happy to have you here. If you're watching the replay, welcome. Awesome to have you on board. Excited to be talking about what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to get into a little bit about me, so you know, like, who the hell is this lady? And then we're going to talk about some of the conceptual and practical difficulties of having executive dysfunction and handling your money, some tangible and not so tangible ways to work with that and work around that. We're going to talk a little bit about shame today, because it's always something that I want to keep present in my teachings. The effects of shame and how we can combat that. And then at the very end, you're under no obligation to stick around for this, but I do like to be transparent so you know what you're getting into at the very end. I am going to talk to you a little bit about a membership that I'm launching next month, a Financial Witch membership, and I'm really excited about. So if you want to hear about that, you can stick around when my presentation is done. But like I said, you're under no obligation to. And as soon as the recording is done, I will send out the replay link to all of you who have registered and are here. So happy to have you here. First thing we're going to do is let you know a little bit about me. My name's Sam. Call myself Financial Witch. We'll get into the reasons for that. But I am 29 years old. These are just a list of a bunch of words that describe me, basically. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm Capricorn Sun, Leo Moon, Libra Rising. For the human design folks out there, I'm a 1-3 manifesting generator. Don't ask me what that means. I just know that's what I am. Um, Same with Enneagrams, no clue, but I am a 5. I don't know what my Myers Briggs is and can never remember, so don't ask me. My favorite color is pink. I'm a witch, a mother, I'm an astrologer, um, multi passionate, ADHD, raccoon brain powerhouse. I'm on the autism spectrum, and all of these things inform the ways that I teach and the things that are important for me to teach and to share with you guys. These all also don't obviously encompass the whole of who I am, but it's a good starting place. And the reason that we're here, the reason that I'm here, is that I'm really passionate about helping people like me that I've compassionately dubbed money misfits, recover from financial trauma and thrive while we watch capitalism die a slow death. So basically, the way that I've been using it, a money misfit just refers to anybody who is, you're neurodivergent, you're an entrepreneur, you work for yourself. If you've ever experienced poverty in your life, or maybe you just don't feel like you get money the way that others seem to. I put neurodivergent folks and entrepreneurs in this category specifically because both of these categories of people have to function within our financial systems in ways that are kind of unconventional, right, or not prescribed. And B, because there's a lot of overlap between these two categories. Like the Venn diagram of neurodivergence and entrepreneurs is so close to a circle, I feel. So this is all really important when it comes to money, right? Especially if you're running your own business. But even if you're not, we all have to deal with money. We all have to deal with money. We all need it to survive. So it becomes an imperative. I started Financial Witch a little over a year ago as an endeavor to eventually, finally become a certified financial coach. This is a path that I'm still on, still working on. But specifically a coach financially for people who are like me. I wanted also a platform to vent about my experiences because I've done my time in MLMs and have many, many years under my belt being steeped in like manifestation girl boss culture. And so deconditioning from those spaces has been just a wholly transformative process. And I want you to know where I'm coming from because I've been that girl. Like I discovered this secret when I was 12 years old. I've made hundreds of Pinterest boards and vision boards and manifestation scripts, and I've repeated thousands of affirmations to myself about how wealthy I'm going to be because I'm a good person, and good people are more deserving of wealth. All that stuff. I've been there, and I was fully like, your thoughts create your reality, and you just got to think positive, and positive things will come to you. And it's your right to be rich because you're going to do good things with that money. Like, I'm not shitting on you if you agree with any of those statements. I'm just saying that this is a culture that I have had to choose to decondition myself from because honestly, I found a lot of holes in it, and it's taken me a while, but I've finally gotten to a place where all I'm concerned about is having enough and everybody else having enough. And, there's really nothing wrong with manifestation, but you will hear me joke about manifestation girlies, and I think we all kind of know the type of person I'm referring to. I really want to focus on a more grounded, more realistic approach to managing your money, right? When you're not trying to become a millionaire, when you're not trying to become an overnight success, like when you're just trying to focus on having enough and functioning within this world that is not made for you and does not accommodate you in whatever way, right? So that's kind of the baseline of where I'm coming from. That's why this is so important and near and dear to my heart, because for so long I had such an ick about even talking about money with other people. Um, I thought that in itself made me like a shitty capitalist, but we have to talk about money. And so I figured if we're going to have to talk about it, we're going to have to like pass around these money coins for the rest of our lives, probably, then like I might as well figure out how to do that well and help people like me do that well and do it in a way that is nurturing not only to your needs, right, but to the collective. So if you're here for that, then great. Um, there's a lot that goes into this money misfit thing, and there's a lot of different ways that it can have positive and negative effects on your life. So we're just going to get into it, but before we do that, I want everybody here, even if you're watching this replay, I want everybody to ground yourself for a minute. Take some deep breaths, stretch. If you need to take a sip of water, if you need to grab a snack, get up and pace around, whatever it is, I want you to just take a minute to focus on yourself. Sometimes it helps to place your hands on your chest or your tummy for a minute to let yourself know that you're safe, because we're going to be talking about some emotional topics, just money and shame most specifically, right? And it's 100% okay if you feel activated and you feel like you need to step away or even just leave. You will have access to this replay, so you're not missing out on anything. Just prioritize your comfort for about the next 30 minutes or so. Okay, so just this can be really activating stuff. And I want you to be kind to yourself, and have fun while you're here. Okay, we're here to have fun. All right, so let's get into this. I want to get some definitions out of the way. I feel like neurodivergence is such a hot term right now. I totally get that. And I don't want to get lost in any kind of philosophical debates about how possible it is to be neurotypical or well adjusted to the society that we're in. Okay. I love having those debates. Do not get me wrong, but just not here. So hit me up on Threads or something if you want to get into it. But for the purposes of my teachings and my platform, I'm referring to neurodivergence as a term that applies to anyone who feels that their brain might not be fully suited to the world around them, or vice versa, which is the real truth of the situation, right? A lot of the societal rules and expectations that we subconsciously agree to only make sense for or apply to like a very small group of people. And we have labeled those people neurotypical, right? Everyone else is outside of that. So maybe you have sensory processing issues. Maybe you're on autism spectrum like me. You have issues with executive dysfunction, right? That's the whole point of why we're here. We're going to get into that. Whatever it is, that's how I'm choosing to define and approach neurodivergence in my teachings. And if you're here, I'm trusting that you obviously have your own personal understanding and experience of neurodivergence, and it's not really my place to tell you that you do or do not qualify. So just to be real official and throw up like a real quote up here, executive dysfunction is a term used to describe faults or weaknesses in the cognitive process that organizes thoughts and activities, prioritizes tasks, manages time efficiently, and makes decisions. Executive function skills are used to establish structures and strategies for maintaining projects and to determine the actions required to move each project forward. Children and adults with executive dysfunction often struggle to organize materials, regulate emotions, set schedules, and stick with tasks. So you can kind of see through that description, right, of all the things that executive dysfunction touches on, you can see how it can kind of make money management feel like a minefield of horrors if you're neurodivergent, right? Because it requires all of those things that they just listed. Like all of that can be applied to money management. So that's out the window. It's scary. And I get it because I have experienced every possible like ADHD mishap that you can possibly think of with my money. The ADHD tax is real. Um, I'm sure many of you have experienced this. Um, it can be small things, like forgetting to cancel subscriptions, right? That's a huge one. But I've experienced everything you can think of, really, like forgetting to cancel my subscriptions, and then really big stuff like literally getting fired from a dream job because I like forgot to sign an important form because I lost it, and forgot about it because I lost it. Out of sight, out of mind. And so, um, lost a really good, awesome job. And so this stuff can be like wholly devastating. That's why when we're talking about this, I really want you to be grounded and comfortable, right? It can be humiliating. Um, and really, it can destabilize your life and your finances to a degree that has lasting consequences. And so, it's for this reason that I will keep encouraging you to listen to and check in with your body while you're here in this class. And then afterwards, check in with yourself, um, directly after this for any care you might need. If you need to go lay down, take a nap, have a bath, take a walk. And then moving forward in life too, like check in with your body when you are dealing with money because it's telling you a lot more than you think it is. All right, let's talk about shame because this is such a sticky. It just gets it gets its claws in you. Shame is really powerful. Shame is devastating. Shame is also a liar. Okay, it's probably the most common emotion that I, at least in my experience, hear people associating with money. Right, especially when you're dealing with financial issues, but it just permeates every aspect of how we deal with money. Like I have talked to people who feel ashamed because they have an abundance of money and that their needs are always met and their life is comfortable and they feel ashamed of that. And then on the opposite spectrum, right, I talk to people who can't meet their needs and struggle all the time, right? And that obviously creates a lot of shame too. So it's obvious, at least to me, that the amount of money you have is not going to change automatically. At least it's not going to change the way you feel about yourself. Shame permeates it it's just part of our society, like this very individualistic capitalist society where like the triumph of the individual over all circumstances, right, is kind of lauded as like, yeah, this is the ultimate success story, just the person who surmounted every obstacle on their own, and this story, this ideal, right, this archetype really leaves no room for community care and no space for people to feel like they can reach out and ask for help or admit to a mistake, right? Or even just let somebody know that they're stressed out about money, right? And because if you're struggling with money, I've experienced this and it was such a mind fuck, right? If you're struggling with money and your peers don't seem to be having the same problems, like you're looking around and why does everybody else like get it and I don't? Um, it's really easy to just begin telling yourself that it's you, right? You're failing. You're falling behind. You're simply just broken in some way. There's just something about you that doesn't work. It just it's not clicking for you the way it's just automatically clicks for other people. You see people like meeting these traditional financial milestones, maybe. Why are my peers like able to have these wonderful careers or buy houses or go on vacations or even do things like plan and have families, right, where I feel like I can't because you know I can't even remember to pay like my cell phone bill, and I keep forgetting, and then it keeps getting turned off, and then that fucks up everything else, right? There's like a snowball effect that happens, one, when you avoid your finances, right, and when executive dysfunction gets you, right, and then the snowball of shame too, right? It can just be amplified, and I feel like being neurodivergent, excuse me, also amplifies the shame because it can just seem even more tempting to hide away and never discuss your finances out loud, or face them head on, because it's like it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to struggle with money because of how your brain is wired. But the thing that you need to remember is that it's not your fault that your environment, aka capitalism, right? Whatever the big bad elephant in the room. It's not your fault that your environment is not accommodating. Okay? And I want to repeat that. I want that to be a mantra that sticks in your head. It is not your fault that your environment is not accommodating to your unique needs. That's not your fault. So when you're struggling with this thing that we've all kind of agreed to, for better or for worse, that we have to deal with, right, which is money, right? We don't even really get to agree to it. It's just kind of like you don't really have a choice. If we all have to deal with this thing, and we know that, and you're struggling with it, but everybody else seems to, and you're told that, like, the best way to do things is to rise up above circumstances all on your own and fight through, it's very easy to just give that up. Say, well, I'm just not going to do that. Like, and I'm just going to give up. Right? It makes sense, right? It might not be the best choice, but it makes sense, because all of that your body is ever trying to do, right, is preserve you and keep you safe and alive. So, as neurodivergent folks, it is not our fault, but it is our responsibility to adapt so that we can find ways to thrive and support one another. Because that's the thing about this toxic individualism thing, right? Um, if you yourself cannot meet your own needs individually, right, it becomes very, very hard to distribute your resources or even your time or your attention to other people's needs, right? It erodes that bedrock of community and connection that humans need. So I don't really like that this is the way that things are, right? But this is the way that things are. We have to find ways to work with our money and get ourselves individually to a place, a baseline of safety and thriving, right? So then you can pour into your communities, and so then we can lean on each other, right? We can lean on each other now, absolutely, but fortifying your own reserves and making your life and your finances into something that feels like you can safely connect, you can safely share, you can safely open and you know exchange in the beauty of sharing resources with other people, right? You have to get yourself and your baseline needs right. This is important. So again, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Okay. How are we doing here? I'm going to take a sip of water for a second. I'm going to mute it so you don't have to hear me slurping. Okay. So, moving on with some other conceptual stuff. After this, we're going to get to like the practical applications. I want to get into some kind of theoretical things that might help you in terms of delegating your energy and actually addressing the things that you need to address, right? In life, but particularly in your finances. So many of us most likely have heard of spoons theory, right? Or spoonies, right? Referring to people who have chronic illnesses or neurodivergent. And spoons refers to, it's a set amount, a finite amount of energy that can be assigned or delegated to tasks throughout the day, right? This is a conceptual thing. This is how people with chronic illnesses have found a way to kind of communicate parts of their experience this way. So if you aren't familiar with spoons theory, it's basically like, your energy is finite every day. Say you wake up and you're feeling good and you're like, I have 10 spoons today, right? I have so much energy. every task costs something, right? Like maybe getting up, getting dressed, and making your bed is 2 spoons. Responding to an email is 1 spoon. Cooking a meal is 3. But bigger tasks, right? Like going out to the grocery store, social outing, or might be like 4 or 5. Going to work, right? It can be like 6, 7 spoons. Okay. And then you have a day where you wake up and you feel depleted, exhausted, right? This is very common for people who are both neurodivergent and have chronic illnesses, right? Our our executive dysfunction, our executive functioning, I should say, fluctuates on a regular basis. Our energy levels fluctuate, right? And then if you add on top of it like physical conditions, right, you can see how energy management becomes extremely important. So then with Spoon's theory, right, you can see where this goes. If you wake up on a day where you feel especially depleted or exhausted, and maybe you're like, well, I only have like 5 or 6 spoons today. So then you really have to ration your time and energy, right? Like if you have to go to work, nothing else is getting done that day. You use up all your spoons on going to work. Maybe if you don't have to go to work, then you can like cook a meal and take a shower, maybe send 1 email, but like that's it. You're not walking the dog, you're not making your bed, right? So this is an established concept. And what I want to introduce you to is the alternative, and I didn't come up with this myself, but I feel like it's lesser heard of, and if you haven't already heard of it, which I call Forks theory, or I don't call, other people call it that, but it's Forks theory. And this is similar to spoons. It's about managing your energy and your level of executive function, but it visualizes forks as something that is not finite, where you can earn, or you can generate, I should say, more forks throughout the day by doing things like, I wake up in the morning, I've got 10 forks, I feel great. Maybe I went and did a big task, like I went to work and I used up a big chunk of my forks, right? I used up 6 forks to go to work. But then on the way home, I like had a conversation on the phone with a friend, or maybe I like stopped and ran an errand. And because of the momentum that this created, right, or the momentum that I even had, say, from coming off of work and working all day, I actually generated a couple more forks so I could do a couple more things, right? It's a momentum based instead of having a finite amount of energy. So the whole reason I'm telling you this is because I have a theory that people who are neurodivergent, particularly if you're like ADHD, if your brain like seeks dopamine, that kind of thing, that Forks theory may be more of the energy rationing system that you might be working with, right? And if that's the case, right, how can we be strategic about this and build momentum, right? So that when executive dysfunction is kicking your ass, when you wake up in the morning with like 3 forks and you're like, I can't do anything. I can't think about anything. I can't make any decisions today. I can barely get out of bed. Figuring out what to eat is going to be the biggest mountain to climb today. So I'm definitely not going to be like looking at my money or trying to like pay bills or figure out like how to pay off debt. Like that is so far beyond what I'm capable of today, right? But how can we generate more forks, right? How can we, even when we're in a low, right, find ways to sustain the energy, to make it so that it's not a mountain to climb, right? And let me see where I put this. Yes, so this is what I'm getting to when you have executive dysfunction. If you need to, say, earn some dopamine, right? Get yourself moving, or maybe just get the momentum flowing throughout your day. Generate some forks, right? There's this concept called swallowing the frog. Some people say eat the frog. Swallowing the frog sounds more visceral and kind of disgusting to me, which is the point. You build momentum and you earn some dopamine for your brain, basically by accomplishing the hardest, scariest task on your to-do list first. So you wake up and you've got to eat this frog, and that's so gross, right? Or I just really don't want to do this thing. Like if you keep thinking about it, this is something where you can lose energy, right? The executive dysfunction loop of shame and panic, right? I'm not doing anything and that stresses me out, but because I'm stressed out, I don't do anything. And then, right, we talked about this snowball effect. Swallowing the frog is easier said than done, but I have been putting this into practice myself, and I really strongly believe that for neurodivergent folks, this might be something that can help kind of give you a little boost out of that executive dysfunction low, right? And this works really well with money, right? Because for a lot of people, money is the frog, right? For a lot of people, especially when it comes to tasks that require a high level of executive function, I got to think about numbers. I got to think about needs. I probably, a lot of us have to think about other people's needs when it comes to money. This can be such an overwhelming task. And doing something that scares you first opens up so many possibilities for the way that your energy can flow after that. So the other thing that I love about swallow the frog theory is that I read this somewhere online. Is like, if you have a frog to swallow before you finish your day, before you start your day, do that first. If you have 2 frogs to swallow the bigger one first, right? It's like the biggest, the thing that feels biggest and most insurmountable to you, right? That's the thing we do first. So I'm not saying, I don't want anybody to take this as I'm like, yeah, just like dive head first into your money and super dysregulate yourself and that'll make you feel really good, right? That's not what I mean, right? The basis is always going to be compassion, right? And grounding and combating shame, right? Through gentle, like loving awareness, right? I'm going to be gently, lovingly aware of my habits with my money and my spending. And I'm going to apply this concept of swallowing the frog to my money management, right? By addressing the biggest and most pressing issues first, right? And this can be, maybe you have a debt payment that is just looming over your head, right? And in a long-term sense, you're swallowing the frog by addressing that first, right? This isn't just something you have to do every single day, right? This can be applied on multiple levels. The thing that stresses, for me, the thing that always stresses me out the most is rent, right? Obviously, it's the biggest bill that I have. So what would be most helpful for me and my finances, right, is that every month, the first thing I focus on is making sure that that's done and making sure that that's taken care of, right? This is not only making mathematical, logical sense, right, which matters in money too, right? But it makes sense for my energy levels. So I'm not burning myself out at the end of every month to try to make my rent payment. It makes sense for the way that I feel about myself. It also makes sense for my dopamine levels because that sense of accomplishment, that's the gold nugget for an executive dysfunctional brain, right? Accomplishment. That's why video games are so addictive. Accomplishment is that gold nugget that your brain is just like, ooh, shiny, love it more, please, thank you. And so a lot of us, in ways both big and small, we seek out that sense of accomplishment in different ways, right? And it might seem like you can never accomplish these big, huge money goals, right? Like, oh my gosh, becoming a millionaire, or, I even just like, oh, I want to be debt free. That can seem like a really huge frog to swallow. So apply this in different layers, right? But start with the thing that scares you the most. Literally, this is so funny that I mentioned video games because my husband and I are both really into Assassin's Creed. And there's this thing you have to do in the game where you like basically jump off a really, really high cliff or something, and it's called the leap of faith. And one of the characters was like describing it, but it was like he was saying like it's a gift you give to yourself. And I was saying this was yesterday. So I was sitting there, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. He's so right. So I have to talk about this. Doing that, taking that leap of faith, doing the thing that scares you the most first, right? Addressing the most stressful thing first on levels both big and small, right? That is a gift you give to yourself. Like it is a gift of accomplishment that you're giving to your brain. Like, here you go, brain, I accomplished something, have your dopamine, right? And then you're giving something to yourself. Like, I can do things. I can do things. I can do hard, scary things, right? I can do hard, scary things. I can deal with my money. And the positive effects from that are like a domino, right? So that's a lot of conceptual stuff that I wanted to get into your brains. Um, because while you can find any amount of practical money advice on the internet, right? Break up your savings accounts, curb your impulse spending. I love when internet articles are like, "You have ADHD, just don't impulse buy." And I'm like, have you ever met anybody with ADHD? Um, so a lot of these things are they're more internal shifts, right? It's more about the way that we relate to money and to the world, right? With money as a tool, with money as a resource for us to do so. So, on the practical end, what I want to get into before we run out of time here is about automation. This is purely like, what can I set in place? What can I start doing today to automate my finances to make me not have to think about things, to not worry about forgetting things, right? Don't be afraid to automate your financial processes. This may seem like obvious advice, but I feel like some of us are kind of wary of auto pay for sometimes because it does not give us that same dopamine boost to spend money on things that like we need and are boring, right? It's not fun for the brain, right? But we know that we need it, and that's the bottom up approach that I think automation can really help people whose executive functioning is narrowed down or depleted, right? Bottom up approach is literally just that. Like needs go first. It's not fun, it's boring. Your dopamine brain won't get the same like reward from it at first, but it works on a cellular level because bottom up automation means paying your bills that you need to sustain your life first. And it's really hard to impulse spend money that you never even had in the first place, right? So if you resist this kind of stuff, I totally understand because it is just boring to the ADHD brain. It's not fun and it doesn't give the same sense of accomplishment that can generate that momentum, right? If you're stuck in an executive dysfunction like rut, But this bottom up approach of needs first, right, to support the things I want instead of getting the things I want first and then focusing on what I need. Um, may seem like common sense, but sometimes our brains just don't like it. And executive dysfunction is not something that needs to be fixed, right? It's something that needs to be worked with, to be cooperated with. It's not about making your brain fit into a certain way of doing things, right? Because we've already learned that's not going to work. It's just about finding the way of doing things that does work, right? So the things that you should automate right now is definitely your savings, right? There's no excuse for not having automatic transfers to a whole separate savings account. You can even do them between banks if you need to like have your savings account out of sight, out of mind, can't touch it, can't access it. You can set up automatic transfers between banks. It's very easy. Don't let that be an excuse. Um, Building your credit score. You can automate this. I sent out an email about this last week, but basically, Chime, the bank Chime offers a credit builder, and I'm telling you this because it's legit. They offer a credit builder account, and it's very easy to be accepted. I had terrible credit; they still let me do it. You sign up, get the credit builder account. They give you a physical card, whatever if you want that. Um, and then you can automate whenever you get paid transfers to go into your credit builder account, and then you take that account, that card, and you use that to pay for some of your recurring subscriptions that you have to pay for every month. And then literally it will build your credit on autopilot if you do this. I put some of my business account stuff like, my Zoom and my like Squarespace like subscriptions that I have to pay on a regular basis. I put them on my credit builder card. I have it automated so that a certain amount of money moves in there whenever I get paid. And I wasn't even paying attention and my credit score went up by 77 points like in the last year. And I hadn't made any big debt payments. I hadn't really done anything except for that one thing. So you can automate building your credit score if that's something you're interested in. And you can automate investing if that's something that you're interested in. I'm not going to get into recommending or not recommending investing as a whole. That's not for today. But if you're interested in investing or you want to start building a portfolio, I recommend using Acorns. It's a micro investing app, is what they call it. And basically, you can set up to have really, really small increments. Like you can do roundups that they round up each of your purchases in your bank account and send the spare change to Acorns. And you can tell it how you want to invest, if you want your portfolio to be more risky or more like stable, all that kind of stuff. Um, and it can kind of be on autopilot, right? If you're just getting started in investing, if you're not really sure how it works, but you know you want to do it, that's another thing you can automate. So just these three things can take so much weight off your brain. And these things are very helpful if you're not already doing them. And so I highly, highly recommend them. I also highly, highly recommend everything else I talked about too, about figuring out ways to delegate your energy and to manage your executive dysfunction with your money on kind of a more mental level. That foundation is going to take you really, really far. There's lots of things you can do to automate, and like I said, there's lots of advice you can get online about like how to save money, and like none of it really ever, at least for me, never really seems to address the fact that like what if I literally cannot stop impulse buying, right? Like something like that. So it's just another example of like the general, like if that stuff does not apply to you, that means you're a money misfit. Like if you're reading this like practical advice online and you're like, what the fuck? That's definitely means you're a money misfit. So we have to do this as an inside job, you guys. Like the world does not accommodate brains like this, like ours, like yours. You're neurodivergent. The world and capitalism like aren't built to work with you. You know, they work against you. So we have to do this as an inside job. So that's the bulk of my presentation. I'm really, really passionate about, like I said, you making sure that you are grounding your nervous system and reminding yourself that you are safe and that you are worthy of addressing these problems in your life or addressing your finances, or you're worthy of trying new things, and you're worthy of finding solutions and doing things that may be hard or uncomfortable at first. Like swallowing the frog is, you deserve to know what that feels like. You deserve to have that sense of accomplishment. You're worthy of that. So I want to leave you with that. And I'm going to spend just the next couple minutes discussing my membership that's coming up. But I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. If you got the replay, thank you. And I hope that you got something out of this today. So, like I just said, we have to do money. We have to do money as an inside job when you're a money misfit, right? You got to do things just differently. And the number one way to combat shame is loving awareness, is compassion, community, being witnessed, being seen, being heard, having somebody see you, right? See you, and accept you and not judge you, right? And not disregard you. That is how we start to combat that shame, especially that grips us so hard when we're money misfits. So starting next month, I will be hosting a membership called the Speakeasy, because we do things a little differently around here, and you know, not everybody can come. So it's going to be a club for money misfits, astrology nerds if you're into financial astrology, neurodiverse witches, anybody who wants to get into doing money differently, who's into maybe even getting magical with it. There will be some group rituals. I'm going to have different tiers for different things, but I'm really excited to open up this space to let money misfits come together and discuss these things with each other and provide support and kind of destigmatize and remove the shame out of this, like this experience of money, right? Of knowing that you are different, but also knowing that you have to deal with money, and it's like, this cannot be avoided. So what do I do? you got to find other people like you. So if you're interested in this, there will be some emails coming out, and you will have a way to opt in to receive emails specifically about Speakeasy if you want to learn more. But we're officially launching on August 1st, and it's going to be functioning a lot like a Patreon, but I really don't enjoy that platform, so I'm not using Patreon. But the lowest tier starts at $6 a month. That's going to be weekly financial horoscopes, all access to community boards. We've got some different themes going on in the community boards that I'm excited to share more about soon. But you'll have access to the community. There's going to be some lunar rituals. We're going to be talking some magic stuff. And I'm going to be sharing a lot about how neurodivergent folks can make money on their own. Online, excuse me, online, outside of traditional employment, if that doesn't work for you, how to make your existing business thrive, how to build passive income. This is something I'm really passionate about. Different ways to have side hustles that you don't even have to leave your bed for. That's going to be a huge part of what I'm sharing as well, because I'm very passionate about money misfits having money and doing so in ways that don't completely burn us out and ostracize us. So we're going to come together and we're going to have fun with it, and we're going to get a little weird and a little magical with it. So keep your eyes peeled for that if you're interested. Like I said, there will be an email this week that'll let you opt in if you want to hear more about it. But very, very, very excited to bring my people together, and we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get the shame out of money, and we're just gonna get real and support one another and normalize each other's experiences. And like I said, we can hold hands while we watch capitalism burn to the ground, and I think that's very romantic of us. So I'm excited. I'm excited to open these doors. But that's it, y'all. I am so grateful to all of you for being here. I would love to hear your feedback. You're always welcome to email me, let me know your thoughts, and yeah, put our brains together. This is something that I think Elle, who's in here, was talking about this. I think she posted about it just yesterday or maybe on your Instagram about I'm not up here sharing this because I'm an expert. I'm not. I'm in the trenches with you. I'm going through this with you. I'm figuring out how to get out of the cycle of poverty and build my own wealth and make money work with my raccoon brain too. So, I'm not up here on a pedestal, and that's also why I really am so passionate about the speakeasy, because I'm just like, can we just get together and talk about this and share strategies with each other? Because I would love to learn too. I would love to learn from y'all. So, it goes both ways. I am right there with you. Yes, shout out to Elle. She is brilliant. Yeah, guys, thank you so much. I am very, very excited to have been able to share this with you, and I hope you got something out of it. Replay will be available soon, and thank you so much. I will talk to y'all later.